Hi, this is Sherry from the blog OurLifeHomeschooling.com, where I post homeschooling encouragement for everyday moms. In this video, I'm going to be sharing an interview that I had with a homeschool mom and dad. This is Kaddie. She's a former public school teacher who found freedom for her kids through homeschooling. Hi, Kaddie and Ty. Thank you so much for letting me interview you.
Sure.
Really appreciate you sharing your story with us. I'm anxious to hear about what you have to say, just because we don't get a whole lot of time to talk. We get a co-op together, but we don't get a whole lot of time to talk. And so I'm really anxious to hear about your story. So I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce yourselves.
So I'm Tyler. This is my wife, Kaddie, and we'll be married for 10 years this May. And we have 4 children, ages 2 to 7. And so 2 of them are officially in schooling age. The other 2 get to run around and play. And we live south of Lancaster City.
Did you always plan to homeschool? What drew you to, how did you end up here?
I always wanted to homeschool, and I don't know that he had much of an opinion. I went to college to be an elementary teacher, and at that point I wanted to homeschool, but then as I observed in multiple different schools, from like the best schools in Lidditz to Harrisburg City, and I saw the ins and outs of the system and how the students were treated and what their expectations were. I had a growing fire passion to not send my children to public education, and private education was never something that we were too passionate about. So
yeah, well, we haven't, I don't know if we've ever really gotten to talk that much about this, but I have had the same experience, same exact story. I taught in public school for a little bit, and then after that, when we had our oldest, whose name is Ty, I subbed. So I subbed in all the schools in the surrounding area, and just kind of feel like I got a pretty good feel for what's happening in general in the school system. And it did the same thing for me. It lit a fire in me that I just felt like education can just be better than this. And so I can really relate to your experience. So you recently were camping all summer. Can you tell us about that?
Do you introduce the year and I'll do the school year then?
Introduce the year. So I guess it was December into January. We felt a prompting to sell our house, and we didn't really know why. I mean, we knew the market was good, but we weren't really looking to move at that point. So we began kind of prepping the house, and then out of nowhere, a distant acquaintance, not even friend necessarily, just reached out to us and asked if there were any houses in our area that were for sale. And we were like, well, we're thinking about it. So invited them over one evening, and basically from there, it just kind of spiraled into them buying our house and it moving along a lot faster than what we anticipated.
Well, we knew it was coming. We just kept thinking something would come up, and then it was like, oh, we're settling in 3 weeks and we have nowhere to live.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, we looked at, I don't know, prior to settling, we maybe looked at 4 or 5 houses, put an offer in on a few of them. Obviously, nothing happened. And finally got to that point where it was like, okay, this is like coming on quick. Like we need a plan. And obviously there's short-term options with family and whatnot, but nothing seemed right. And then I think one day she just mentioned to me how, like, I've always had the desire to do the camper life and tiny house life. And it was kind of like, hey, like, maybe now's the time. Like, we're being kind of pushed into it. So we went and looked at 2 campers within the matter of a week, I think. and ended up putting a deposit down on the second one that we looked at, which
On our
was
anniversary,
as we were on our way to the cabin for Memorial Day.
like the kids were in their jammies crying. It was bedtime.
We didn't have a car that could even pull the camper at that point,
Oh,
but
wow.
it seemed like it was the right thing to do. And so went out and bought a truck like a week or two later, picked up the camper 3 days before we settled on the house. And then just kind of from June 18th until we settled on our house that we have now, August 31st, we campground hopped around Lancaster County.
Oh, how fun. I think that would be really fun, especially when your kids are little and they love camping. I just think that would be such an adventure.
It was an adventure.
It was.
I'm sure you were probably ready by the time it was over to be done, but to do that all summer, I mean, those are great memories. So did you do any school while you were, did you do any formal school while you were camping?
Yeah, we started our school year at the like August 2nd, like that Monday, whatever that was, because I knew that more than likely any house we would get would be needing a lot of work.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure we at least started to give ourselves some grace and take off during the school year. And so we started, and it was definitely a challenge. My favorite, it literally was like the second day of school, and the dining room table was too small. So we normally did school outside, and we literally just sat down and got all the kiddos situated. Even the 2-year-old was sitting quietly, and the mower just kept circling our camper, literally like 3 times. And
so frustrating.
It was frustrating, but now it's really funny.
Right.
But no, we persevered. And I think just like last month, I sat down and I looked at like where we were last year compared to this year, and we are nowhere near last year, but there's lots of things that we learned and grew that we wouldn't have regardless, like if we wouldn't have campground schooled.
Right. So was there anything that stands out to you that you just loved about that experience? Anything that your kids learned?
Well, I think for our third is a boy, and he is very introverted, wouldn't talk to anybody. And this summer was just like, he blossomed this summer. It was like our first campground. He made this little paper that he had his siblings stapled together and walked around and asked everyone their name and then would pretend to write it down. And he just became so social this summer, from like in his little shell to being able to talk to strangers.
That's great. Wow.
So I think all of our kids grew, but definitely, I don't know, his was the most obvious to me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So you are really passionate about the freedom that you've felt through homeschooling your kids. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I think that for me, it was really obvious and in my face this past year. We currently live next to some kiddos that attend a brick and mortar school, and they get on the bus at 8:20 and they get home at 4:00. And I get all that time with my kiddos, my babies. Like I can't, I mean, there's so many freedoms, but just like the freedom of time, because they grow so fast.
Yes, they do.
But I mean, the freedoms are limitless. If we wanted to, if we could have traveled full time in the camper, like that's a thing. There's lots of people that do that, and so many freedoms.
Yeah. You mentioned the freedom to choose what they're learning. How do you feel about just being able to pick? Are you referring to like individually, like being able to pick according to what each of them is interested in?
Yes, both ways.
Yeah.
I love the opportunity that we get to choose what we teach to all of our children, that we get to spend a large chunk of our day in the Bible and memorizing and instilling values and life skills and character building, that I get to have my hand in that.
Yeah.
Versus a teacher in a school. And then the ability to cater to each individual child, the freedom that Charlie gets to learn from his dad how to build things because he's not learning that from me.
Yeah.
And they get to pursue those passions where I feel the kiddos that are in brick and mortar school all day, they come home, they're tired, they have homework, and they start early in the day, like their days are going.
Yeah.
Hard to reclaim that time.
Yeah. Just even today, our kids finished school. We had lunch. Sometimes we still do read alouds after lunch, but today we had kind of finished by lunchtime. And my daughter, Jenna, painted a canvas. She spent all afternoon doing that, and it is just beautiful. And she just enjoys that. And then Luke is learning a dance that they're doing at the youth retreat. And and then all the kids are with him, like trying to learn it together. It's just great, just the freedom that they have to I think
be kids.
Yeah, to be
To
kids,
reclaim their childhood.
yeah, do things they love and get an idea and be able to try it out and experiment. And I feel the same way with our kids. It's so neat to see them. A lot of times our girls will want to, bake things, and it's not like they're rushed around. We got to go here, we got to go there. It's like we're here, and they can, they can try some of those things, and it's really nice. You also mentioned about freedom from comparing with themselves with other kids. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. I'm doing all the talking.
It's your own.
Again, it was just in my face this past year. I have someone close to me who her parents had to fight tooth and nail for what they thought was best for her. She doesn't learn in the box of a brick and mortar student, so she has a lot more struggles. And seeing them walk through that, it just opened my eyes to the fact that my son would be in the same boat. Like, he would not fit into the box. And I know the way that he ticks, he would be downcast. Like it would break his love of learning.
Yeah.
It would break his spirit to have to be fit into that bubble.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And I think some of what we were even saying before about that freedom they have to explore their interests, I think that makes them better learners, because when they're exploring their interests, they are learning and they love it. Mm-hmm. So then when it comes to learning other things, they just naturally see everything we learn as, well, I can't say they always love learning. No. Have some things that they absolutely do not enjoy learning, and they just have to learn them. But for the most part, they enjoy learning because they have time to just a lot of freedom in their schedule. Mm-hmm. So tell me then, what are some of your favorite resources that you use with your kids?
Oh, that's hard without grabbing them. Okay, Ambleside, listen, all the books, they're not for the kids, they're for me. Yeah. Parables of Nature makes me cry pretty much every chapter I read. I have to grab real quick.
Go ahead. Well, while she's gone, can you tell us just a little bit, I'm going to throw you a curveball.
Sure.
About being a dad and your role in homeschooling with the kids?
Well, I think it's one of those things where, like, their mom is with them all day teaching them, and I feel like I want to be a part of that in some way. So, like, we're not great at it, but like evenings, it's kind of my role to head up like a bedtime routine. We try to like read a passage of scripture and then like sing a worship song together as a family, read books and that kind of stuff. Like, I kind of see it as like
nighttime schooling.
Yeah, it's like, it's my chance to contribute something.
Yeah.
And then like sometimes the benefits of my job are that I work 4 days a week. So then like on a Friday or something, like when we were fixing up the house, the kids could be with me.
That's great.
Even though it like prohibits progress sometimes, like it's fun to have them and have them learn. And then like Charlie the other day, like I think because of the times we've gotten to build stuff together, like he's trying to build like his own go-kart and like legitimately wants to put a motor in this thing. And I'm like, I have no idea how.
Yeah.
But like, it's cool that like he can just mess with whatever he wants trying to build something.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you can learn together.
Yeah, exactly.
Learn how to
That
build.
is what homeschooling is, honestly. It's
It
just
is.
learning together.
Yes, it is. It's learning together. And there's been so many things I get to that I'm like, I have no idea how to do this. And sometimes I think people think because you're a homeschool mom that you just must be like really good or talented or something. But there's so many things I get to and I have no idea how to do it. So we just have to figure it out. I mean, YouTube it or whatever.
What a blessing that is, though, because that is education, is learning to learn for yourself.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. So what did you grab there?
Okay, Hero Tales is my favorite, just because they're so short. Each week we could study like one different person. So
And
Samuel
you know,
Lee.
I'm not familiar with this book. I'm really surprised.
I
So
love it because I think so much can be gleaned from learning about the people before us. So like this is his intro story, and then each day for 3 days, it
okay.
concentrates on a character trait. So it's short, it's easy. There's a Bible verse and a character trait that goes with each day.
So are these Christian heroes?
Yeah.
Like
People
about
that did it.
Christian heroes.
Yeah.
Oh,
And there's 4 of them, I think, which this is the 4th one.
Okay.
Like last week we did Ben Carson and John Harper. Lots of, so it's great because I think that's really important to know about the people that went before us and people that did hard things, because it helps us know that we can do hard things.
Yes. Yeah. So I think biographies are so inspiring. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your homeschooling story with me. I just think it's going to be a huge encouragement to a lot of current homeschoolers and people that are exploring or new homeschoolers. I just think your story is going to be an encouragement to them. So thank you so much.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.